It's said that third time's the charm, right? Well, not this time. Unfortunately, Mafia 3 is another disappointment in a long line of disappointments from the Mafia series. But let's get into what the game is about. The game takes place in 1968 in the fictional city of New Bordeaux. You play as the character Lincoln Clay, who has just been discharged from the military after fighting in the Vietnam War, if I'm not mistaken, and he ends up going back home to the Black Mob, which he considers his family. After doing a job for Sal Marcano with the Black Mob to try to hopefully help them get out of Sal Marcano's pocket, unfortunately the entirety of the Black Mob is killed and Lincoln Clay is shot in the head. After recovering from being shot in the head, and yes, the game actually explains how Lincoln survived, he decides to go after Sal Marcano's entire, basically his entire infrastructure, taking out his capos, his underbosses, and then finally moving up to taking out Sal Marcano himself. And to do this, you have to take out each district and take it over one step at a time. Now, to many of you, this will sound like Scarface: The World Is Yours, and you are right, it does have a similar premise, but the problem with that game compared to Scarface, unfortunately, Mafia 3 just doesn't have a lot of variety when it comes to its gameplay. Now, don't get it twisted. Story-wise, and character-wise, Mafia 3 is really cool. Lincoln Clay, while many won't be able to relate to his genocidal nature because of what's going on, you can't help but like him due to his personality and otherwise. He's a likable character, if a little bit of a psycho in some cases. Kind of like how Grand Theft Auto 5 has characters that you're not really going to relate to, but you can understand what they're doing. And not to mention, other characters within the story, both in the beginning and, hell, even closer to the end, are really cool. Like Donovan, the Preacher, and even some of the underbosses are interesting characters in and of themselves. See, that's the thing. Every Mafia game, including this one, has always had good characters, good story. I've never knocked a Mafia game for having any of those. But the biggest problem I've always had with the Mafia games is its gameplay, and it's been the same since the first Mafia. The problem with this one, however, is as follows. This is what you literally do throughout the entirety of Mafia 3, and I'm not skimping on this. You go to a district, you get some information, you bust up that district's, businesses. Then you kill a big guy so you can make a bigger guy appear. Then once you kill the bigger guy, you can kill the biggest guy in that district and then take control of it. Then you do it again in another area within that district. Take out the big guys, take out the bigger guy, and then finally, once you've taken out the bigger guys in both areas, you can finally kill the biggest guy in that area and take complete control of that district. Once you're done with that, you do it 5 more times, and then you're done with the game. I'm not kidding when I say that. You have to basically, okay, here's the thing. You do this about 6 times, taking out, all of the capos and underbosses, which I believe there's supposed to be 4 capos, if I'm not mistaken, 3 underbosses, and Sal Marcano himself, which is 8. In other words, you're going to be killing upwards to about 16 people or otherwise before you can finally kill the 8 that you're supposed to be killing, which means that you're going to be doing this about 24 times before you actually beat the game. And this is a long game. This is 10 hours of tedium. That's the biggest problem with this game. It has the bare minimal of an open world game. Because the problem is, in the world of New Bordeaux, there's no side attractions, no real side missions that you can do. Like in other open world games, you could probably go play poker, go to a movie if you really wanted to, though I don't know why you would, go bowling, anybody make a GTA 4 joke, I will smack you, and various other things of that nature. You could do a lot of other stuff in this open world. New Bordeaux has none of that. It has a great amount of appeal and intrigue, especially when you go through Mardi Gras, you run into Confederates, you run into these stores that are colored only because it's 1968, and you even run into KKK. The world of New Bordeaux is interesting, and they have a lot of cool elements within it, but once again, it's like Mafia 1 and Mafia 2. It is a sandbox, but you're given no shovel and pail. That's what Mafia 3 is, unfortunately, in the gameplay department. It's a sandbox with no shovel and pail. And that's sad because I wanted to like this game. I really did. Graphically, it looks okay, and I really like the characters and story, like I said. And not to mention, I like the idea of it being set in 1968. It's a different time frame. And the fact that we were playing as a colored character, it adds to the overall flavor of the entire game. But unfortunately, it just doesn't add enough. It's very repetitive. Like after the first few hours, you are going to feel the game becoming way too repetitive to the point that you might not want to finish it. So all in all, what do I think about Mafia 3? it has good story and it has good characters, but it's not enough to justify its high price tag of 60 to 40 bucks. I'd honestly say if you want to play Mafia 3, you should pick this up at a very reduced price. Either rent it or buy it for like 20 bucks. I would say it like that, because for $60, I bought this brand new $60. I regret the purchase because of how tedious it got and how much I wanted to like the story and characters, but the gameplay got in the way of the biggest point of this game. It's like, games are meant to be fun. This was not fun. This was tedious. And that is the biggest killer of this game, along with its entire series. And that's my speed impressions on Mafia 3.